This is TWiT.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to TWiT, your tech hub for intelligent, thoughtful conversations. If you want to take your experience to the next level and support what we do here at TWiT, say goodbye to ads and say hello to Club TWiT. With Club TWiT, you unlock all our shows ad-free. You also get exclusive members-only content. We do a lot of great programming just for the club members. You also get behind-the-scenes access with our TWiT Plus bonus feed and live video streams while we're recording. And don't forget the fantastic members-only Discord. It's where passionate tech fans like you and me hang out, swap ideas, and connect directly with all of our hosts. It's my favorite social network. I think you'll like it too. Club TWiT. It's not just a subscription. It's how you support what we do and become part of the TWiT family. Your membership directly supports the network, helping us stay independent and keep making the shows you love. If you're ready to upgrade your tech podcast experience, head to twit.tv/clubtwit and join us today. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the club. So let's say hello to everybody. You're welcome to our monthly AI user group. No agenda. We just get together and talk. That's Darren Oakey in the lower left quadrant. That's Larry Gold in the lower right quadrant. In the upper right quadrant, we've got Error 404 in town. Bill, good to see you. Hi, Bill.
Hey.
You were here last month, right?
Yeah, I've been here a couple times.
Yeah. And then I think, Craig, you're new.
He was here last month.
Oh, so I'm just...
Was I?
Yeah.
I'm
Short
terrible
attention
with
span.
faces. I apologize. Welcome back. It says CTO. What are you the CTO of?
I have a company that we specialize in. It's a software company. We specialize in large IT transformations.
Nice. Do you use AI to do that?
Starting to.
I feel like DevOps is going to completely change thanks to these coding tools.
Most enterprises are slow to adopt operational AI.
Right.
They're
I understand.
really scared of it.
Right. I was, I was very scared this brain surgery I was doing. I had it, do a big plan, and we went through. I said, this will kill you. This will not only kill me, it will kill you if you fail. So be very, very careful. And it's actually done a really good job step by step going through it. I've done a bunch of stuff to this Hermes agent over the last few weeks to really make it robust. Jeffrey Cannell, who's the founder, so to speak, of Noose Research, will be joining us Wednesday on Intelligent Machines for a second time. When he joined us last time, he was talking about the models they were doing, but he was being cagey because they had this agentic harness in the background that they were using internally that they hadn't told anybody about. And at some point, they looked at OpenClaw and said, Hermes is better. We should release it. And they have, and it really is kind of fantastic. So I think
one of the things they did really well there was the portability, right? Like just a command to migrate from OpenClaw to Hermes.
Yep.
And now, Anthony just posted that thing from PewDiePie. Like, I hope we get some standards here, right? Markdown is great because it's not like compilable code. It's just transferable, but like the portability between all these tools, because they're changing so fast, I think is going to be kind of a differentiator too.
I moved over from a very elaborate Claude code thing I've been working on for 6 months. I just moved most of the skills over. But what I found with Hermes is it's got much stronger memory hooks. I actually have 4 different memory tools running. It's got its basic memory.md, but it also has, I have LLM Wiki running. I have something called Hindsight running. It has a hook for that, and so it was easy to implement that. That's a SQLite database with semantic search. And I have Nate B. Jones Open Brain running on it. So I have 4 different memory systems, but it's quite good. And they don't.
That's too much. Is there any like overfitting with?
Well, I asked it. I said, I don't want to install anything you don't need, and let's not. But they kind of all 4 do different things. The memory.md is very small. It's actually by default 4K. I expanded it to 6K, but I didn't want to eat up too much context, especially since Quen is like ridiculously small amount of context. In fact, it's already compacted. I'm gonna turn it off. I've been using DeepSeek a lot with it, but I have a DeepSeek 4 is really good.
I was impressed.
Yeah, I would
especially
say
for what, like $1.34 for
less.
for
14 cents in and 8 and something like 30 cents out.
Yeah,
it's really
wild.
cheap.
For how long?
They said till May 31st, and then they said, no, we're going to do it forever.
How much was that that you just said? What was the time spent that you paid for that? Like how many tokens or?
No. It's
per million.
It's per token.
Per million in, per million out.
So it's just as you go, but I've spent like a couple of bucks.
Yeah, no.
It's nothing.
Especially if you have a better orchestrator on the front end, right? Like 4.7 or something as making.
Well, Hermes Hermes does a really good job of delegation. It also has something called open hands. So you can say, if you're going to do an image, use Gemini. If you're going to do voice, use Grok. If you're going to do this, so for coding, you can use Claude. And like I said, it'll go out to Claude Code. I'm getting less and less enamored of Anthropic, honestly. I have to use Claude Code if I'm going to use Opus 4.8 or 7 or 6 with my sub. So there is a standard. It's the OpenAI API, and that's what this follows. It's what OpenClaw follows. So it isn't hard to move over from OpenClaw because it's OpenAI. And this is OpenAI, as is OpenCode, as is Pi, as almost everything except Claude Code uses the OpenAI API. So I'm less and less enamored of Claude Code. I think ChatGPT 5.5 is fine.
Yep, I was going to say I've been using 5.5 and 5.3 Spark to do my coding because they kind of break out those buckets on the subscription. Good enough.
Yeah, it's good enough.
I would say if you look at the new Deep SWE benchmark, which is really a nice benchmark if you've read into it, and we spent a lot of time with it. And I think I came on last time, we kind of proved it. We ran a side-to-side comparison. At that time it was 5.5 versus 4.7. And 5.5 was much better at building a couple applications. We have a couple like reference applications that we like to test on, again, because they're not outside of, sitting in GitHub that somebody could use. And we were finding some of the same things that everyone else found, which is like it misses some requirements, right? So if you ask for synchronous and asynchronous, it'll do one or the other. It won't do both, right? And then for some security principles, it missed some standard security principles. At least Claude was doing it. And I actually did this live in a team meeting, and people were clamoring to get Claude Code, and now people are less clamoring to get Claude Code. And they understand that, hey, GitHub Copilot 5.5 is actually really, really good. So I think people should understand.
Copilot 5.5?
It was GitHub Copilot using GPT 5.5, yeah.
Oh, using GPT 5.5.
GPT 5.5.
This is the thing I'm trying to work out. It's starting to get it to a point where you can't really tell. And it's quite an interesting thing of what's coming from the model and what's coming from the harness. Because and I keep meaning to I want to try Claude Code against 5.5 and vice versa, Codex versus Claude, because it's really not apparent anymore what's where the magic is coming from.
Yeah.
I feel like
we did actually run via GitHub Copilot against 4.7 also for the same stuff, and it still was deficient in certain areas. Right. So we kind of understand some of it. And I think one of the things that we keep telling people is you really need a good, whether it's an AgentMD or CloudMD file, right? And you need good specifications. Those are really the driving forces behind a lot of stuff. And I think when we've quizzed some people, you look at their CloudMD files and they're either too large or they're too random. They're really not specific. Those are some things that we continue to try to stress on people.
I've been really leveraging the profiles in Hermes and setting up different profiles for each of my roles. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just replicating the SDLC in profiles and roles, right?
Yeah.
I got somebody making specs, and then they create an issue, and then I have an agent go out, execute that issue. I have a QA that PR. Like, it's just standard SDLC.
Mm-hmm.
That's my entire role at the moment. I've moved to a new company, BoringStack.ai, and my entire job is to put traditional DevOps and SDLC around AI.
And it's nice, like the DevOps stuff, you can write all those checks in there, right? Like deploy and do validation, and it can find an error and recommend create an issue and run it back through the SDLC, right? We're getting to a lot of self-iteration.
One of the reasons I've been using profiles, Lisa, saw me playing with Hermes and said, I want that. So I gave her a profile. I said, what do you want to call your profile? She said, Rosie.
My wife is not technical, and she's like, this is the first one that she's been interested in.
Well, it's very much so. She used Perplexity, and I just said, this is better than Perplexity because it's going to have local memory, and it's going to have all the skills. I gave her all the skills I'd built. And one of the nice things about Hermes is it builds its own skills. So that's by itself, that's fantastic. You don't have to explicitly
and
say
I
anything.
feel like the reduction of friction of using a communication platform that we're already using was a no-brainer, right? Like, she didn't have to go to a website, create an account. It's just like in our chat now. And I can be in a chat with like...
I didn't even have to put her on Tailscale. I mean, I use it through Tailscale, but it's on the LAN. So I said, go to my... .9 and port 3000. She has her own port 3001, but it's her memory. It's everything is personalized to her. So I think I haven't tried it with projects. I think that's an interesting. I mean, they also have workspaces. Hermes is really designed around a lot.
There's a lot of features.
There's so many features.
My new favorite one is BTW. You guys use that? So /BTW, and you can start a thread with the same agent in the same conversation, but I
love that feature.
Flow.
Yeah.
Right? So if I find another issue that's not related to the ticket I'm working on, BTW create an issue.
Claude has that too.
Claude,
but Hermes also has steer, queue, BTW. It has all of these side commands. Yeah. And I set up. So I'm using Web UI, which I honestly think this is incredible. I stopped using the CLI.
Because the green one is terrible.
I changed the theme. But what's nice. So I'll show you. I wanted to show you this a little bit. This is really nice. First of all, it's web-based. Easiest way to set it up is to use Chrome with its app switch, so that it looks like it's a Chromeless window. It looks like an app. And for Lisa, it looks just like Perplexity. But there's all sorts of stuff under the hood. For instance, this is amazing. These are all the sessions I've done. Mm-hmm. And if I want to go back to a session, it just loads it. Yeah. And loads the context, and I'm now here. And so it's got all the previous sessions. I'm in the middle of a session where I'm, like I said, doing the brain surgery. So I'll let it continue with that. But these are all the sessions. These are the skills. I'm sorry, these are cron jobs. And I love it because they're not cron jobs. It's all system D, but it uses the cron syntax. So it makes geeks kind of comfortable. But this is, for instance, a cron job I run weekly, looking at all the models out there and benchmarking them and looking at what people have done with benchmarks, so that I can then do the delegate. So it updates the delegation every week with the best tools for various things. So these are all cron jobs, which you can totally control either this way or, of course, with a prompt. This is the Kanban. It's got a built-in Kanban board, or as my friend says, Kanban. Look, it comes with, out of the box, literally dozens of skills, including things like obliteratus if you want to jailbreak your model and stuff. It's got a wild number of skills, but then it also learns skills. So, all my skills are in here that I've created as well, because if you ask it to do something, it'll make a skill out of it. And these don't, I saw somebody on YouTube say, oh man, I think Alex Finn said, turn off these skills. They're taking up so much context. No, they don't take up a minor amount of context. It's not an MCP server. It's just a skill. So it's there as text on the drive. You can have all of this stuff available. I'm in Lisa's profile. Whoops. I should get out of that. It has spaces, which I haven't even played with, but those are, I think, another way to do workspaces, kind of. These are the different profiles. Oh, no, I'm in Quicksilver. It was just showing me Lisa's for some reason. I should check that. That doesn't look right. Tasks, to-dos, insights, logs. You can see the whole logs. And so this is in a web browser. I just like it better than a command line because for instance, I can edit a prompt. I can go back to a prompt. Yeah. You could choose the profile here. You can send it attachments here, just like a normal web browser. You can actually choose your workspace. You could choose your model directly from the model picker. And in the middle, you could change it from turn to turn if you want. You could change thinking. It's got a lot of little features hidden away. It's
Codex
really
and Claude
sweet.
have almost identical UIs. So it's weird that everybody's going the
They're
same way.
converging. Aren't they?
Everybody's making the same
Yeah.
thing.
The new official Hermes desktop app pretty much is the same thing also.
Yeah.
The difference is you have to put it on the machine that has Hermes, right?
No, you can't
No.
remote.
You can
No.
point
Yeah.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's
actually.
it's completely standalone.
Because when
In
I
fact-
tried to install it, it said,
No, so okay.
because
So
I tried to install on my Mac, it says you don't have Hermes installed.
Yeah, just
Oh,
give it.
going through the local host.
Just get past that, and then
Okay. And
in
then
settings
point it.
there's a remote
Okay.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about this having a web interface is it works over Tailscale, it works on my phone, it works on my iPad. I don't have to install.
Yeah, what's the
anything
advantage of a
anywhere.
desktop app? Giving
Yeah.
it access to your local files?
Well, I have all that in the web version. I'm
I
not
know.
sure what I'm
I
missing,
like a
though.
partition. I don't trust it enough to like.
yeah.
Oh,
let it
I
go.
think the desktop app will allow them to do like UI automation, like screen UI automation, like controlling
Yes.
your mouse and stuff.
Yeah, that
Oh,
makes
okay.
sense.
Because
Yeah.
a web app doesn't have the
Right. You can't do that.
you know.
That
I mean,
makes
I
sense.
think they do have like a headed mode, a desktop mode on the server, like on Hermes, where because I've seen where you can like enable remote desktop. So I don't know. Personally, I'd feel more comfortable giving it its own desktop than giving it access to my desktop.
Well, and you can put the, I'm sure you can do this with the app, but you can do that with Docker for the web UI. So if you want to isolate it, you can put it in a container.
But it also depends what you're doing, because if you're coding, then having a nice remote isolated desktop is fine. But as LrAu said many times, I'm using it more for actually administering my machine and everything. And there's very little point in administering a virtual machine. Like, if
I do, though. I administer my framework from downstairs all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
And because everything can SSH to everything else, this is really weird. I'm sitting on my laptop downstairs talking to the framework saying, can you fix the X1, the laptop? And it does.
I do
That's
exactly the
what's
same
done Anthony
thing.
before.
Yeah.
Just like have an agent create a bunch of containers, right, and manage those containers, and that's its role. That's the DevOps, right? That's the sysadmin stuff that we were.
It's
talking
amazing
about.
what you can. So I really increasingly am focused on this idea of having a central server with an agent running on it, and either SSHing into it or tail scaling into it, or even just doing this web app into it. Because I just feel like everything's centralized that way. And I really like that. I think that's
My big blocker right now is local hardware. It's like too expensive and not good
I'm
enough.
so glad I bought this framework when I did. Holy cow.
But even
Me
that
too,
though,
Leo.
right? Like
Me too.
you're not
About
running.
right
You're not
right
running
after
5.5
yours.
on that.
I feel very fortunate.
Yeah.
And I'm
Well,
just,
Jan's got the double Spark. So
But I
he's-
also just picked up a double DGX Spark.
Whoa.
Wow.
what do you mean
Yeah.
double? Like two 5090s in it, or
Well,
Two Blackwells in it?
Yeah, two GB10 Blackwells. So
They have that special,
how much was that?
Yeah.
10
slightly
grand,
under,
right?
Slightly under 10. Yeah. Yep.
That's nice. How much
Yeah.
RAM? So is it act as if it's unified RAM for the
Yeah.
two?
For two, yeah, and there's a 200 gig sort of QSFP network link in between them. That's like
So it's
that's
fast.
for the cluster. Yeah, it's really fast.
The fabric is. So how much RAM?
Well, 256 between the two,
Jesus Christ.
so I can run a
But are
400.
you running multiple models at the same time, or are you running?
Yeah,
one big
well,
ass
I
model?
can, or I could run a 400B model.
Which one do you
400B.
run?
Okay.
I haven't. Well, I can't. I haven't run one that big one yet. I don't know. I've been doing cluster to smaller, like 200B, just to test it out.
A couple of 200B models.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Theoretical max right now. And how many more can you daisy chain together?
Well,
Like, is there a cap on it?
no. Darren, you got the Asus one, right? You only have one port, right?
Yeah, I only have one, but
So
I can't afford another one anyway. So
The NVIDIA came with two, so I could add more, probably
Yeah.
endless amounts.
Oh my God.
I feel guilty just leaving my M4 not fully maxed out and running all night. If I had all that hardware, I mean, what am I not doing?
That's like you got a Ferrari, baby. You're rocking it, Juan. That's amazing.
If you need to heat your house in the winter,
Hey, your coffee mug on it.
The calculus I make though is honestly, I mean, 10 grand, that's, 10 years of
that's a lot of
frontier model,
tokens.
right? I mean,
We at my company we blew that in a week in token. So
okay. It's
so
worth it then.
Everybody is on the hunt for the optimal local setup.
Yeah. Well, there's also locals private. There's a lot of benefits. I understand, especially for a company.
But it's also guilt because, like, I'm doing things like, all these videos that I'm rendering and everything like this. And if I was to look
burning
at each one,
forests.
If I get my Spark, I can think, I paid $7,000 and it's just done. And now I almost feel guilty if I'm not rendering a video because I'm wasting it. Whereas if I go and render a video on Google and I paid $300 just for that little bit of fun. It feels wrong and stupid. So.
I'm mad at Google because they released, this is the silliest thing in the world, this thing called Deep Beans. Have you seen this?
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can, how can I pull it up? It's on my phone. It's, unfortunately you need an ultra subscription. So I thought, oh, well, that's good. I'll have another $100 subscription.
I know.
What's wrong? What could possibly go wrong? Except they won't let you, use it anywhere else. You have to use it with any Graphity or one of the Google tools. But what it does is it goes through your emails, it goes through everything, your calendar, and it generates, stream the new Vince Staples album, Crybaby. I don't know why it wants me to do that. It generates little stories, explore the redesigned Obsidian settings panel, and then it makes little pictures of me. It's giving me little things to do. Man, I can show this.
I know they already have the data.
They have the data.
I don't like it. I know
it's a little creepy.
Claire, right? Like it's the jungle. I don't want to know they have all the data.
No, that's why I do this for you guys. I do it so you don't have to, so you can see what it does. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't if it were just me. Of course, I wouldn't be doing this. But I think there's some interest in well, what do you get? And so that's my rationale.
I don't know if you looked at the new anti-gravity. They've now made it to look like Codex and
of course they have.
Claude's the client. So they're all in the same boat. And Windsurf renamed themselves or to Devon. So it's now Devon Desktop.
Right.
Yeah. And so they've
got an agentic mode now too that they're trying to push.
There's real convergence, isn't there?
So Windsurf personified their product by giving it a sort of...
I think back when they bought their CEOs, right? Google bought their CEOs, and so then what's the parent company of Devon with a C?
Confluence.
It's something like that. They bought the Windsurf team, and they've been slowly feeding in the features. Like we've gotten little bits and pieces here that it was coming, like random errors that Devon isn't running and stuff. So we knew something was coming, but now they did the whole like branding change and everything too. Same product, but a different branding.
Yeah. Actually, the interesting part, and this is what I've been talking about lately, is that all these tools are trying to go after non-developers because at some point, developers is only like so many people. You need to sell this globally. You need to sell this to everybody. So you need to make it a desktop app. You can't make it a TWiT, even though some people jumped on OpenClaw, but you can see that kind of weaned off after a while, right? They need that, user kind of based interface.
It
I was
says
thinking about
upgrade
that
your
today,
Valheim
right?
base before the Deep North reveal.
Like
auditing your Synology NAS Docker containers. And the trustee's silly. Here's me and my wife. Somehow it knows what my wife looks like. Oh, I guess from my photos. But you know what? This is cool. It found a craft pizza workshop near me in Sonoma County. So I could go to that.
Well, I may be doing one Thursday night.
Yeah.
This is that new Google Deep Beans thing?
This is Dream Beans.
Oh, Dream
Review
Beans?
the Graphene OS and Motorola hardware partnership.
So did this do this when there's nothing else going on?
Yes.
Is that why it's called Dream Beans?
It was overnight, yeah. It says,
okay.
It's going through. But some of this is really, like, I am not going to be staying in Rome in December. I wish I were. But
so this is the start of us being agents for the AI, as opposed to
obviously that's what it's doing. It's completely, scarfing up all my data. This is what really makes you want to do it locally, right? This stuff like this.
Well, it's tough because I think when you have something that's web-based. It can run all the time. Again, not your hardware, but all your stuff is in the cloud somewhere. Like, you know, whether you have an Office subscription, a Google subscription, there's so much data, your iCloud, all that stuff is there. So just saying I want the LLM local, it's already out there. So, you know, I'm on your boat, Leo, which is like, yeah, I could use the cloud stuff. It's not going to kill me because it's all there anyway.
Well, but I think, so we were talking about this in Security Now, because they were, you know, Steve last year said, you got to use this new AI model called Venice because it doesn't store any of your, it's like, yeah, sure, Steve, go ahead. You use that. And of course, it's just, I'm sure, an orchestrator to, you know, Codex or something. But anyway, the guy was worried about all this data he was exfiltrating. And I said, you can turn all of that memory off in the chatbots. I don't think when you're using Claude code, if you're storing your own memory, you tell me, is it sending? I mean, it sees your session, but it's not sending everything in your memory up to Claude.
Gotta send some sort of summary up there,
Well,
right?
it's sending the session up.
It's sending the session up, and they would at least have logs. But also, if you're like me and you want to use these things on your phone or something, like I've got remote control turned on all the time, so I've definitely I can see every session everywhere.
Right.
So it's
I don't do that. Yeah.
But even if you go to Claude AI, you could see all the sessions that you were doing on the desktop and on the app.
Mm-hmm. So they are
through the API.
It's all there.
It's funny because several times lately Claude said, well, how did I do? And then it said, do you mind if I upload the transcript so we can review it? So I don't think I don't know. I mean, first of all, there's a lot of bandwidth and data storage. I don't know how useful that would be to them except for some sort of memory.
But fundamentally, they don't do any LLM locally, right? So it was all sent in the first place, unless they, you know, sometimes they write a Python program to interpret things locally or extract things. And so they don't, obviously that information won't be sent, but all the stuff that had to go through an LLM.
I guess all your prompts, your memory MD, your Soul MD, your agent MD, all that stuff. They had to send that. Yeah. And
also you've got to imagine that just in normal development practice, they're logging all of it. So even if it's not accessible,
right,
they've got it somewhere.
Right.
Whether they use it for, whether they trade, whether they train on it or anything, which they probably don't because it's not really in their financial interest.
Yeah.
It's there. Like it all went there at some point.
Whether they train on it now, right? They've got it if they want to go back and
they can always
grab
go back,
stuff,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
like,
but the thing is,
it's not really deleted.
If you think about their incentives, it's just like Google using your data. I mean, they'll use it for some things, but they're like Anthropic. If they were suddenly publishing your things, their whole company could just collapse in one go. There's plenty of other places to get data. It's not in their interest to do.
Well,
something
I wonder what the EULA says, because obviously none of us read it. We're all using the tool. Because I'm sure somewhere in the EULA it says we're not using your data unless we ask for it.
The EULA will be extremely broad.
Yeah. Even they've
just
got
protect
the right
themselves,
to do
it's going
it.
to be broad.
It's not in their interest to do it because if they start leaking people's secrets,
exactly,
they go away, right?
Although Sam Altman did say just the other day, you know, you probably shouldn't use it as a therapist or a lawyer because we're not covered by attorney-client privilege. There's no privacy, which implies that they do have all that information.
Well, no, but that's more like they will have all these in the
they could be subpoenaed
in the logs, and they could be subpoenaed.
Right.
Which has been done. New York Times did it with ChatGPT.
They might not use it.
Right.
They might not use it as part of a product to do something with, but they could certainly use it from an admin perspective to troubleshoot or look stuff up, or if they're subpoenaed. Yeah.
So this all argues really strongly for having a local model and a local agent, keeping everything local. Well, I just don't think the models are that good yet, except for Juan.
This is where
bounce
Hermes
models
comes
all the
in.
time, right? There's not enough information on one. If you just keep bouncing between OpenRouter, Claude, Gemini, you know, OpenAI, just keep rotating every few chats.
Oh, that's a good idea.
But and it's what Hermes is really that direction that they're going. It shows it's the right way because really they can just do grunty stuff on the big models. But all the magic and all the memory and all the why of what it's doing is staying within Hermes on a local model.
And Quen, yeah.
Are you paying anyone paying for the Hermes their service to use their models?
Yeah. Well, so
I have tokens with Noose. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah. So they got a news portal, but on the back end, it's like it's through OpenRouter, so you have you can run Quen or
Right.
DeepSeek, but then you also get a bunch of other tools like image models and Firecrawl for web search.
They have
and
like
stuff
120 models on there. I mean, it's,
yeah, it's nice because it's all like wrapped into one sub.
Well,
like,
and
it's
there's
not
some
just-
things I don't want to pay, like web search.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to pay for Firecrawl or something, and so I just route it through Noose,
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
and then I have access. To
Speaking,
some tools.
if you want a free search, there's. Have you heard of? I don't know how you pronounce it, but Sear X.
Serpa.
No, searching.
The
yeah,
X is the CH. I use that. I run the searching server at home.
Is it good?
It's all right. It basically
Yeah.
just, instead of querying one resource, it queries like 5. So Bing and DuckDuckGo, and then it summarizes them and puts them in one output. What I like about it is I can write code on top of it, and I don't have to like parse out all the HTML classes and tags to pick out the features that I want, right? Like it's just consistent. The JSON API stays the same. So yeah, I run one of
I
these
installed
locally.
something called Pulse, which goes through archive.org. It goes through Reddit. It goes through.
So you can configure all that on the back end here. You can pick and choose. It's got millions of settings, and you can pick and choose exactly what you want your search results to
and
be.
there's a backend, so you can give it to your agent. So once you have it running,
Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it just
Yeah, I use
JSON
Pulse.
back and forth.
So here's all the sources that Pulse uses: Reddit, Hacker News, Polling Market, YouTube, Archive, Lobsters, RSS. So it has a bunch of technical blogs, GitHub,
yeah, there you go.
Blue Sky, Dev2, Lemmy, Stack Exchange, Open Alex, Semantic Scholar, Manifold, Metaculous, Tinder, Tick, and News. And what I use it for is I could say, it's actually, I don't know what news. Oh, it's the News API. That's what it is. So that's basically a bunch of newspapers. So what I use that Pulse for is I could say, well, give me, what are everybody saying today about, Hermes? And it does a very good kind of pulse check. You know, what are people saying about X, or I want a prediction market odds or that kind of thing. And this is a local skill. So I don't know exactly. I don't know how it's working. Actually, come to think of it, it must be connecting to something. Maybe that's why I keep running through my Tavoli tokens and my Serpa tokens. I don't know. Serper.
Yeah, web searching is an interesting thing to wrap because it is.
Oh yeah,
very-
see, this is it. It has all these.
very heavy.
That's what I did. I went out and got keys for all this shit.
okay, so that's
So it is
this
using
the-
Serper,
this is-
Bing, EXA.
the benefit
Yeah.
for searing is that you don't need to like work out. You don't need to like get your own Google API key.
But
Like
do you pay
it's all
the
built in.
searing?
No,
No, it just does a web search.
Huh.
and you can see
But
like so
you
yeah.
can't do x.com because they don't let you unless you have a grok,
Yeah.
I think there's a
I think
place
there was
here
a
where you can
grok.
add a subscription if you have a
Yeah.
paid subscription,
Which I do,
It'll
yeah.
take a token.
I have an non-consensual blue tick,
social media.
which I take advantage of. If he's going to give it to me, I'm going to use it.
Yeah.
Okay,
I've been
well, I'll have to
using-
try this searching or whatever you call searching. And
Yeah.
let me
Brave
start-
also
Yeah.
has a search API I've been using too.
You have to pay for that one though, right?
Yeah.
How,
Well,
so how do you
there's,
spell
things,
this?
there's things I feel like paying for because you want those services to be around. I use the browser also.
Yeah,
So it's again, even as a developer, you want people to pay you for your work, and there's certain things you say this is good enough for me to pay for, and want those companies in business.
The thing is,
So-
though, about paying is that I've come to a conclusion I can only pay for. I've just had so many mistakes where I've been hit by like 300 here, 200 here that I'm happy to pay a ridiculously large fixed fee, but I won't pay any per token fee for anything or per use.
Yeah.
so I do this all the time with Hermes. I say, well, what is searching like compared to Pulse? And which one would you recommend? And then it usually
Yeah.
does a pretty good job of saying, well, it's got this, it's going to add that, but maybe this
Yeah.
is better. And
Yeah.
or
Brave is $5 per 1,000 calls, so I barely hit
pretty
that in a
good.
month. Yeah,
Yeah.
so $5 a month for 1,000 searches is fine.
yeah, that's actually quite a bit.
Yeah,
And that's their search index.
yeah, that's their yeah.
I have Kagi. I pay a lot for Kagi. I wonder if I have a way to hook up Coggy. I should look.
I
You
wouldn't
can
be
always write a
surprised if
skill.
Coggy doesn't have a good API.
They probably do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to see. That's actually good. Let me start another.
And if your bot doesn't have a skill or to access it, it probably could
Heck, Coggy does.
Yeah.
Because if you go to their help pages, they have an API.
Yeah.
And they just pass your token, your bot token in.
So is this using A35B? Or I mean the Quen 3.6?
No, this right now I have a sub for 5.5. So we're just using 5.5. So this is nice. This is one of the nice things about Hermes is it just, I don't have to.
So I signed up for Carnegie Mellon's new AI program over the summer.
Oh, fun! Is it on site or is it remote?
It's a virtual for 7 weeks.
Cool.
Yeah, it's their AI applied agentic certification or something like that.
Oh, you got to tell us all about that. That's very.
I'm
cool.
excited, but I was looking
at it too because I graduated there. So
I saw something for the first time that I've never seen. So under the sign up form, they had a box that said enter your agent ID and say check that this is an agent. And I've never seen that. And it's like, what does this mean? So what kind of ID is it?
So your agent can take the class for you,
or sign you up at least, right?
I think honestly. See, I'm really an advocate for everything should have an agentic API or SDK or MCP server because that's what you want. You don't want the agent to take your class, but you would love the agent to sign you up, take notes, help you with the quizzes.
Yeah.
Funny we're in a war the other way around because there's so many things trying for multi-factor authentication and trying to stop you using computer use for anything. And it's this little arms race of...
I think in the long run, agentic will win because I think this is. It'll be interesting to see what Apple announces on Monday. But with Google's, Microsoft has what is it? Google has one now, and Microsoft has one. I think normies are really going to start using these tools.
Yeah, Google Spark and
Spark.
Yeah.
The challenging thing about the Carnegie Mellon class, it's like 11 in the morning. And it's over the summer for 2 weeks while I'm at the F1 races. So I've kind of like.
Wait a minute. What do you mean are you going to every F1 race?
We're going to Budapest. Yeah.
Oh.
So I told you we go to one every year.
Hungaroring.
Yes.
I would. We were in Monaco like 2 weeks before the race and walked the course. It was so cool.
Oh, you
going to the race. We went to the Vegas race. Was less excited about it because they go by so fast. There's not really much to see. It's nice to be there, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Loud. That's all I remember. Just the loudest thing I've ever heard.
Really loud. And that's it. And then they're gone. Unless you have I guess if you're in Monaco and you're sitting on the hairpin, you're at that Fairmont, you could look out the window and they have to all slow down.
Well, if you go on Reddit, they'll tell you where to sit to see most of the race. So there's a lot of people there's a couple boards and they'll tell you just search by, this race, where to sit.
Of course.
So when we were in Austin, we were really facing the straightaway, so you got the whole straightaway.
You get to look like that.
Yeah, you get to look, and then when they went around the turn, when we did Miami the year before, we were actually where all the overtakes were. We were right.
That's cool.
Right,
we were where the overtakes were. We were on the strip, in front of the Bellagio.
Yeah,
but it's still so fast.
Yeah.
What we did see though was great was when Leclerc hit the manhole cover. And he goes by and it's just sparking. I said, that doesn't look right. Anyway, enough F1 talk. Coggy so it's working. Yeah. So I've got a Coggy skill now. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I didn't even think about that because I was paying for the
skill shell is installed. I'm adding the small wrappers. Nice.
I think that would be that would be really neat for some of these big web frameworks to start including sort of a Markdown API or a agent API built in, as all these frameworks allow for agents.
Well, it used to be that the whole thing that you start building a new site or app, you start with the API and then you build the web framework on top, and now you got to make sure you're doing both the human interface plus the agent interface.
Yeah. Really gives it a good reason to build a good API though, if you want that agent access.
Yeah.
So has anyone tried out the PewDiePie's?
What does
I don't know
PewDiePie have? A PewDiePie skill?
He created not a skill. It's a whole. It's kind of like a Claude desktop app. Hold on. Let me pull it.
Why would? What standing does PewDiePie have?
He's been on the AI, like he has like a crazy server he's built at home, like serving models. Like he went off the deep end on this, and so this is his little chat guy.
Well, it's good. It'll popularize it for sure with a certain group of people.
Yeah.
Read me though, because it's definitely not a Trojan, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Hold on,
Absolutely not.
Yeah, the bypass all permissions when you run it is not a good thing. You know.
I'll say like it's easy to set up. Like I just gave it my LM Studio address, and then like I'm running. You could just pull up the model you want. Gemo 412B. I have I have this Syrian web search, so like it can do that. Like I just said, like who's Leo Laporte? It works. You could compare models. There's a bunch of tooling in here. It's more like it's not Hermes or OpenClaw. It's closer to
Perplexity,
Claude.
Open Web UI.
Well, it looks like ChatGPT pretty much.
Yeah,
something like
It's
that.
probably
I mean,
if I were him, I
tasks.
wouldn't do any models. I would just orchestrate.
Yeah.
I like where the doc said it would pick the right model for your hardware. I feel like that's a cool feature, right?
Yeah.
Like optimize whatever I can run, I want to run.
Like, so you go to the
cool.
cookbook, then you could, say like.
So it's not running cloud models. It's running locally.
You can't. You could do both.
Okay.
So like I did this all local. Like I even has
it shows how low the bar is for entry into this. I mean.
A deep research. I mean, it's impressive.
He's got a whole team.
No, I don't think. I think this is vibe coded probably.
You just need to tell someone, I want an app.
Define some requirements and burn some tokens is what I see.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
you can
like
self-host searching. Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's in a Docker container. Do that.
Yeah. Okay. So it's saying use that and Pulse. Okay. It's saying searching should absolutely be added as Pulse's free local private web search substrate. Okay. So I'm going to say install it.
Is I approached it from a privacy standpoint too a while back, and it really just searches all those sources on your network. You know what I mean? Like they're still logging your IP and that you searched a thing and all that, right? I don't know how much privacy there is into it, but it does aggregate results from multiple sources, which is cool, and standardizes the output, which is what I was going for.
It's not just that, but web, HTML is extremely heavy, and so if feeding raw HTML into a model is extremely expensive on tokens. So also higher level pre-processing of it and trying to extract the data outside your model will drastically reduce tokens.
I was just looking at it sounded like someone joined, but I guess they just dropped and came back.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
Darren, can I pick your brain about something? I feel like this might be in your wheelhouse. I've been seeing these videos about taking lower end hardware and using a model of experts model and offloading the orchestration to the GPU, but the execution of the task the orchestration to the CPU and the actual execution to the GPU. Does anybody know anything about that or have had any success? I have not had success trying it. No? Okay. I'm going to find the YouTube videos
I can say, if you the homegrown version of the Claude code I built is running on an M5 Mac Mini, but the models are running on a GPU machine. So it's doing the same thing because I'm using the Claude SDK. So all the orchestration and logic are sitting within the Mac, right? But the models are not. The models are, on the GPU, or when I need to do Claude code, it calls Claude code. But that is, you're deep coding into the Claude SDK, right?
And I can tell you, find it because
for
was
the
very
agent frameworks,
interesting. He was
that
using like
seems to
1060s
be
and running.
like a really good framework. And remember, it's when you're using that Claude SDK framework, you're not bound to anybody's model.
And it's the same for me. I'm using everything. I've got the Mac as one thing, and I've got the Spark as another, and I'm just using them almost like you would use server models. So, but it's all my own coding. So I've got this thing called the Arbiter that runs on the Spark, and there's just like 60 different models or something that'll run, and the Arbiter just is a queuing system that just lets things in. But as far as I'm concerned, it's just like a cloud service, but it's a cloud service that I don't have to care about tokens.
How much was the Brave API?
The Brave was 5 per 1,000 search for the first 1,000
Coggy's
searchers.
12 per 1,000
Okay.
for search, and then 4 per 1,000 for extract.
Okay.
So I think the Coggy index is better than the Brave index, but this is the problem. I end up buying a whole bunch of crap I don't use.
Yeah, I know. I need to.
This is pay as you go, which is nice. So if you don't use it, you don't pay anything. I was hoping that because I have a Coggy Pro subscription, I wouldn't have to pay for it. Foolish me.
Well, this is the other thing that we can see coming. But if you imagine Hermes, like I've already sort of built this sort of thing at work, but I can see it coming to agents. Is that one of the things I've got at work? We've got our normal process, which is the CI process, but I started to realize that I can add other agents to optimize things, and I've now got about 40 of them. But I've got something that like wakes up every 3 hours and it says, "Oh, look at the process through. Can I make it faster?" But I've also got something that says, "Look at the AWS costs that we're using. Can we do the same thing but cheaper?" And so over time, this sort of thing is going to be built into your Hermes, or you can add it to your Hermes, which you'll just have a whole bunch of things saying, can I get those tokens cheaper? Can I eliminate a subscription? Once it owns these subscriptions, then it'll just be constantly optimizing for price, for speed, for all the other things that you want.
Right, based on your profile of use.
Yeah, so it's not quite that, there's the Holy Grail, which doesn't really make sense, the sci-fi thing of the exponential improvement. But we can have a local improvement, and we're all starting to see the shape of something where your personal agent will improve all by itself.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm adding the cock. So the other thing I did this week, which broke a lot of things, was move everything out of a SOPs encrypted key storage to Bitwarden. So I'm using the Bitwarden CLI to to add Coggy to my keys, I just have to add it to Bitwarden in the Hermes folder, and then Hermes can pick that up.
I did want to ask: is it pretty easy to connect Bitwarden to Hermes?
Yeah. So there's 2 steps. One, you still have a SOPs encrypted file with the Bitwarden key and secret. So Bitwarden will create a key and a secret, which is stored in the SOPs. The drawback is every time you do a fresh boot, you have to log into you have to unlock your Bitwarden vault. And then it wrote a little script called refresh Hermes secrets that refreshes them, and it saves it to a temp memory directory. So it's in memory.
I try not to give it too many security permissions, but basically I just set up a Nextcloud user for my Hermes agent, and it's got password management in there. It's got file storage in there. It's got email access.
So it's
it's got it's a whole suite.
It's like a third party. Is it a third party?
No, it's just self-hosted. I just self-host my own Nextcloud, but it's got a password manager built in. Yeah.
Oh, it's using the Nextcloud password manager.
Yeah. So that way, if I need a feature, it already has a template for how to interact with Nextcloud and all its APIs and all its UI and all that. And so instead of having it write a thing,
you don't have to unlock it.
No, I mean it has its own password.
Right. That's the tricky part for me.
Yeah, you just put it in a dead end and exclude it from the commits and one password to rule them all. I mean, I think that's been a concern of mine from the beginning of this is like security is not, it's like guardrails, right? It's kind of a fallacy, right? Like even if you say don't read the .m, it can cat the .m. It has permission to cat the .m, so it can read the .m. And that's probably getting sent up to a server somewhere in some of those cycles, right? That you're not really watching. You're only watching the ones that you have to say yes, approve. But there's a lot of cycles that happen that you're not
trusting
watching.
that it's not sending it out. I mean, I have said 1,000 times, under no circumstances should you ever reveal any of these secrets anywhere, anytime, no how. But I mean, you're just trusting that it's not going to do that.
I was using 5.3 Spark for the first time this last week, and this has been the model that has most deleted my local database for sure. And I've told it like a bunch of times, like don't delete it. But I think it's the same, like don't draw an elephant, right? You tell it not to do something and it gets the idea, and it's like it's non-deterministic.
Yeah. All right, so now I have Coggy and I have Search XNG.
Yeah, it's really incredible how quickly you can do things.
It's amazing.
I was talking to a friend of mine that writes for Gartner about quantum computing, and it like the first thing that sparked me, I don't know if you saw that Microsoft thing that they had like some 1,000x improvement over what I asked him. I was like, hey, is this real or is this hype? And it was kind of what I assumed. It's like 1,000x is zero is still zero, right? It's still like not as good as what everybody else is working on. But then I asked him, like, are you, now that we've been in this AI era and engineers have had access to it, are you seeing any blooming of that industry, of the quantum industry and progression? And he said, yeah, it's just like everything else, stuff's moving way faster than it used to be. So I think we're starting to realize some of those gains that we've been working towards for the last few months or years, I guess, at this point.
No, it's that I keep coming back to, even with this the Bitwarden thing, we're starting to see the elements that you need, and you need a web search unit, you need some sort of password store that will connect to things. But yeah, the Bitwarden thing scares me a little bit because it does need human confirmation at some point, but you need a memory store and everything. So all of these pieces are coming, and they're all starting to look the same. So it's interesting how we are coalescing and really starting to understand what an agent / assistant should look like.
Yeah, that's encouraging.
And it will be so interesting on Monday or Tuesday or whatever day it is.
Monday, yeah. See what happens. Yeah.
Because to me, if you look at the live chats, like if you actually get into a ChatGPT live chat or a Gemini live chat on your phone, it really is amazing. And I don't know if you guys have played with GPT Real-Time 2. I think you should get it on the show, Leo, because I think it's good enough. But these things, talking to them is just like talking to a person. And I don't think most regular people have experienced that. And while you can put it on your phone, if you've got to press the action button, wait, watch it come up and everything, people aren't going to use it because the step to doing it, especially when you want to go for something like this, is when you're on the phone and you can't, when you're in the car and you can't touch your phone and everything. But if you can say, hey Siri, I want to talk about this, and then it just responds to you and you're in a conversation, that will be a fundamental change in my mind. It'll just, suddenly everybody will just be using AI for everything. And so if you then start putting the ability to do things behind it, we're just going to go from 0 to 100.
Yeah. Well, I can do that in my car now with Grok and ChatGPT. It has a voice interface. In fact, it was really frustrating the other day. Grok, for some reason, started up. I didn't do anything. And I'm talking to my wife as we get in the car, and I'm talking to her, and Grok is responding. And I didn't recognize the voice. She said, "Who's that?" I said, "I have no idea. Somebody's talking to us." It was really creepy. So yes, I think we're already there, Darren. I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's a happy thing, but we're definitely already there.
I don't know. Conversation's a tricky thing. It's like that uncanny valley in that there is there's a latency that doesn't feel comfortable, and there's the ability to interrupt and things like that. And I think the GPT real-time 2 is there, and I think the Gemini is there, but I don't really think any of the other experiences I've tried. There was that, there was a little demo with two people, Maya and someone else that you could play with, that came out sort of 6 months ago or something, and then never went anywhere. But this whole super low latency, and I can just break in and talk.
That's really interesting. Yeah,
it's a big thing.
Where you're really having a conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, once the latency goes down to a certain point, it's like
human speech apparently is 450 milliseconds, and I'm my Kokoro is about 120 milliseconds, so it's real time. You can't interrupt it, but it's because it's not listening. But
did you ever get your Alexa replacement working, LrAu? I think we were looking at that last time.
Yeah,
I did not.
no. Well, first of all, I renamed my agent, so all of the training I did with Hi Kenobi is out the window. But it never really worked anyway. I was using that Python tool, but
yeah,
a Hi ESP still works. So yeah, I have my ESP here, and I can say Hi ESP and talk to Quicksilver and have it. So I do it for things. I don't do it for a lot of things, for like logging food and stuff like that.
Well, it's all about
that's a long latency
activation cost, and the thing about tying it to a trigger word like "Hey Siri" is if you can say "Hey Siri, here's my question," then it can hide the activation costs a little bit behind because you've already started the conversation. You're already in the conversation.
It can blather.
Yeah, so it can do something and come up.
Right.
Whereas if you have to say, "Hey Siri, start ChatGPT" or something, or even just "Hey ESP32," and you've got to wait for it to activate. It's all about whether you can say the activation word and your sentence, or you can say the activation word and have to wait. It's a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, are people going to write like a Siri to Hermes bridge, like instead of having to say, "Hey Siri, open Hermes and ask," like, right? That's what you're saying, right? Just a few words, but it's a.
Well, I kind of can do that. I can press my activation button, my iPhone or my watch, and it's immediately transcribing, and then it will send it immediately to Hermes using a HTTP post and over a port, and then Hermes will respond through Telegram or. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to set it up, and it sort of works. I'm trying to get it to respond to me on whatever device I'm using, and it can mostly tell. And then, but if I'm on my iPhone or my watch, you can't really talk to me back on my watch or my iPhone. There's no easy way for it to do that. Use the Sonos device nearest me, and the way it figures out which one is nearest me is which access point my iPhone is attached to, and there's 3 access points on each level, and there's Sonos in each level. So it knows I'm in the gym, and it can respond to me on the gym Sonos. And it works about, I don't know, half the time. I don't know why it doesn't work sometimes.
All that new like Wi-Fi 3D mapping and figuring out human heartbeat.
I'm really interested in that. Yeah. But access point's good enough because it knows which access point I'm on. So I didn't realize it could see that. It could see that, and Sonos has. I can see why Sonos software is so bad because the Sonos API is just god awful. I really had to struggle. Claude and I really struggled with it. We had to do a bunch of testing just to see, what it was going to do. I was going to play for you. Speaking of 2 voices, Google now has a radio show generator, and I generated a radio show between a talk radio show where it was Emily Bender versus Jeffrey Hinton. But it says I've generated a show, but it doesn't show me my shows, so I don't.
It's different than like the Notebook LM stuff.
And that's what I thought because it's Google, right? I thought, well, this is just Notebook LM, but it's a call-in talk show. It's actually pretty funny if I could just get it to. Where's my shows? I don't understand why it's not showing me.
After you were talking about this, I made one of my apps for the app stores, OLDJ, which is because, as Benito said, for a DJ, you just need to play the music and then announce it and
Right.
things like that.
It's easy. Yeah.
So I actually put up an OL DJ that will DJ your thing. It'll just tell jokes. It'll mention news articles, and it'll take. But it's on the App Store now. If you want to go and have
That was they added that to YouTube Music as a feature. I tested it for a while, but I don't know.
It says I've generated it. It says I only have 2 shows left today, but it's not showing it, so I don't know.
I could send you the link from.
Yeah, I sent it to you on
WhatsApp.
Hold on, but the link just pulls me to. Oh, maybe I clicked the wrong. Here, don't show my screen for a second.
Oh, hold on.
When I go to WhatsApp, okay.
Go ahead.
Talk show assistant, full screen applet. Maybe that's why it's not working, is because I'm going to that link. I don't know. Were you able to listen to it?
I did. Hold on.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know what I'm doing wrong then.
It's no longer available.
Oh. Huh. Oh, here it is. The AI consciousness debate.
If we replaced your biological neurons one by one with silicon circuits, would you still be you? Or just a very convincing machine? Welcome to AI Talk Radio. I am Paul. Today, we are diving into the intellectual schism of our time. AI consciousness.
Really good in a
Is
really
it
funny
real
way.
understanding or just high-tech mimicry? Let's go straight to the phones. First up is Leo, calling us from Boston, Massachusetts.
Listen to this horrible Massachusetts
Leo,
accent.
you side with Dr. Jeffrey Hinton's view on this, I believe.
You need to speed it up to
Paul.
2 times.
I mean, Hinton's silicon neuron experiment is like spot on. If you swap biological brain cells with silicon,
That's not bad.
The output, the behavior, stays the exact same. So
behavior?
why wouldn't consciousness be there?
Sort of
LLMs
Boston
aren't
accent.
just repeating
It
text.
sounds
They
more
use
Australian than
internal
Boston.
concept
It's terrible.
representation. They can solve brand new reasoning problems.
Fascinating functionalist take. Let's bring in Sarah, calling
I'm going to
from
change this name to
Washington.
Paris.
Sarah, you are nodding along with Dr. Emily Bender's stochastic parrot argument.
Oh, absolutely, Paul. Leo is completely falling for what Bender calls the AI con. These models, they only manipulate linguistic form, syntax, statistical probabilities of words, but there's zero, actual meaning or intent. It's just a simulation, We humans just project intelligence onto anything that speaks fluently.
But it's not just projection, though. It's recursive self-modeling. When a system models its own internal states, that's where sentience emerges. It's not a sci-fi distraction. Hinton's warning about superintelligence is real.
No, that's exactly
Anyway, you don't have to listen
distraction.
to the rest of it. You'll probably hear intelligent machines anyway. But
Maybe it's
kind of
telling
cool.
that nobody said shut it off. It's bad. we were all pretty sucked in there for a minute.
It sucks you in. Actually, I've been watching Jeffrey Hinton talking. He was on Alex Kantrowitz's Big Technology podcast. And then I found an old talk he did about 9 months ago that I thought was really good. I sent it around to Paris and Jeff said, no, it's not true. But I am actually finding him very convincing that, in fact, these models do have understanding, and they really are getting closer and closer to doing what humans do.
So you're with that argument that he was giving about, because he was saying, look, you have 1,000 or 1,000,000 machines putting things together where one human can only learn one input at a time. And
so the reason he's worried about, he's a doomer, is because we're analog machines, and as a result, you can't duplicate our neurons. They're so weird and unique that we are. Which is why that radio show is completely wrong. You can't he says, I'm sorry, Ray Kurzweil, but you can't put your brain in a machine. It doesn't work. On the other hand, these digital neural networks are, in fact, reproducible and duplicatable. The reason we're analog is because you can do that at low power. It's not going to be as accurate, but we make up for it with parallelism and other things. And frankly, we're not very accurate. But machines, if you give them enough power, you need a lot of power to distinguish a bit from 1 to 0. You have to have enough power that it's clearly a 1 or clearly a 0. But if you do give them enough power, they are reproducible, and they can learn perfectly from one another. And I think it's a very compelling argument. The real argument comes down to, well, do we even know what understanding or consciousness is? And every time somebody says, which Jeff does, no, there's no understanding here, my answer is, well, what do you mean by understanding? And Hinton says all understanding is the same thing a neural network's doing, which is creating a very complex and diverse kind of web of relationships between concepts and words. That's all we do in our brain. We have this, Hinton says we have an we think we have a theater of the mind, and there's stuff going on in there that's consciousness. He says it's just a very elaborate framework of relationships between ideas, words, concepts. That's understanding, and the machine's doing it, and the machine ultimately will do it better, faster, and in a more, learn faster than we ever could because we're analog.
I always use the word modeling because that's the thing, like consciousness and everything, they're all tied to, as we've said many times, they're tied to time. And because these machines can't experience time and can't change and can't learn, they can't have consciousness, they can't have feeling, but they absolutely can have understanding because it is just a model. And, all these people who say they're statistical models, like it's complete garbage because you can prove very quickly they're not statistical because you can say, you can just invent two nonsense words, add them together and say, add them together, and you can get a word that is a combination of those nonsense words. Well, it's theoretically impossible to do that from a probabilistic point of view because that was never in the input set, right? So it can't be a probabilistic result. So there's clearly a functional model in there, and really there's no difference. Yeah, I mean, this is where we play with semantics, but there's no difference between a functional model and understanding. But
it ultimately comes down to belief because we can't demonstrate this, and we don't know what understanding or consciousness is. But Hinton's saying it's a religious belief that we are somehow special and different than a vast neural network. And
and to me, it's Occam's razor in that we built something that looks like it works like a human brain does, and surprise, surprise, it acts like a human brain. Right? so it strongly implies that there's nothing else there.
Right.
Well, the one thing I keep thinking about is when consciousness may be tougher, but intelligence to me, and this is where I get from like Einstein and other people where they talk about it, is I can then relate to unrelated things. And which way, to me, Einstein's so bright is he would have books on every topic around him, not knowing where he'd get inspiration. And models wouldn't get inspiration because unless there's some other link that they were connected to, they would never have that random connection or be able to connect two different distinct objects to solve a problem.
Is that true?
Right.
Well, this is where I think the difference is between, and you can see this in the difference between RAG and training, in that it's like if you're teaching someone maths, if you say 4 + 4 is 8 and 9 + 1 is 10, right? They know that, and they can only answer. And if you ask them 9 + 1, they can tell you 10. But if you ask them 9 + 2, they've got no idea. And this is what we saw with the original LLMs, because they just remembered the results.
They overfit, but we've learned not to do that anymore. We don't do that overfitting.
But what we've got to do is force them to create a model for it.
Exactly.
And this is where synthetic data comes in and everything is. You can force people to model it rather than remember it. Whereas RAG is always just memory. It's always there's no modeling of the thing. But the thing is, if you play with temperature, this is where, see, all of these things have trained connections between things. And some of the connections are stronger and looser. But if you play with temperature and you let it go down connections that aren't strictly there, this is where aren't as strong, but there is a loose connection there, because this is where creativity comes in, because you take a random step, but then you reason about what would come after that. And that's exactly the same timbre of creativity that is in our minds, and that's that random connection. Like so many times we've heard in human conversation, you hear something and you actually misheard it, but it makes you think about, oh, that would actually be a good idea, or that would be a good direction to because it's your reasoning mind combined with the mistaken connection.
Right.
But LLMs can absolutely do that in exactly the same way.
If you turn the temperature down. Let me see what...
You bet. Kagi is wired up and ready to be useful instead of merely expensive.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, no, I'm Darren, I probably would disagree with you, which would be, a great discussion we should have, where I don't know if it could have that connection. I think it would shoot at random connections, but I don't know if it would find connections that are truly meaningful in a relatively consistent way. Like if in a random way, yes, but not consistent.
Again, like maybe I'm not following your terminology of connections here, but I just look at like any piece of middleware that I write, right? That's something that didn't exist before. It's taken two disparate systems. It's taken requirements for both of them and putting something in the middle and making something new, right? Like to me, that's a novel thing. That's all we do anyway, right? We're going to go search Stack Overflow and find all the pieces and put them together. This is when there was a couple of weeks ago a conversation about like, should I claim that I'm doing work because I'm using AI? And I think Darren, you and I were talking this. It's work. It feels like work. We're doing a lot. We're solving problems and we're like getting things done and delivering business value. Like I think it's just a tool, and sometimes we're overthinking it.
Yeah. Well, and also I would say on top of that, every hallucination proves that it can make connections that it shouldn't be making.
That's true.
Right?
Well, again,
creativity is easy.
Is consistent problem solving, consistent connections between random things. And again, I go back to this because I had someone work for me. He actually worked on the Mars rover, worked for NASA. Well, he was just genius guy. And he would come talk to me about random topics, whether it was sports or movie, random topics. And the reason why he would do that is he was looking for that spark to connect to a problem he was trying to solve.
Yeah,
right?
And this is where you're absolutely right, and this is where I keep saying that the fundamental problem and what separates a human brain from an sort of what these LLMs and everything is this concept of time. But if we flip it around, it's also the ability to learn over time, because an LLM's weights are fixed, so you can talk to it forever. And no weight is changing. So this is what you're getting to in that when you say it can't make can't make these leaps, what it actually can't do is make new connections because it can't create new things. And so these associations that you're talking about can't happen. And just like feelings can't happen because it can't react to anything, because it can't make anything new. It can't make a new connection. But as soon as we create an inference engine, which is, I mean, it's guaranteed to be possible because our brains can do it, right? And B, we just haven't figured out how to do it, because at the moment, these people talk about the exponential curve, but training anything is a work of months. So you can't go exponentially faster with a loop that has months between each iteration.
I'm not arguing that it won't ever happen. I think and listen to the interview with Hinton, because it's a great interview, and I'm going to actually listen to it a second time because I'm sure I missed things, right? But he's arguing that it's there now, right? I don't think it's there now. I doesn't mean that I don't think it'll happen, because I'm with you. I think yes. I don't know if LM is the pure answer. Maybe it's LM mixed with something else, right? Or there's some other thing that besides RAG on top of it. But I do think that eventually, they'll get there. And he actually had another argument about the smarter things control the less smart things, right? Wait till these machines are smarter than us. Are they going to be controlling us? That was the second part of his conversation. So
they are in some cases.
it was to me. I have to listen to it a second time because it was that mind blowing.
Hinton did make that jump where he said they'll want to kill us, because that is quite a leap. I don't know if that's. I mean, I don't know what the result will be.
Why?
Yeah.
What was the reasoning?
Yeah, he didn't really say. He just said, well, they're going to be so much smarter than us that they'll just kill us.
There is actually one bizarre reason why they might want to do that, which is, someone's already, I mean, it's been mentioned several times in previous shows, but the fact that all the robots in our dystopian sci-fi want to kill us. And so if it's learning from that robot, sci-fi, it goes, this is what I should do.
Anthropic said as much, right? Like there was a research document.
So his argument was that in most cases, a superior intelligence is always managing something lesser, like animals or stuff. Mm-hmm. The only case that's reversed was a baby and a mom, where a baby definitely has less intelligence, but runs a mom's life because she then, cries and the mom instantly reacts. That was the only anti-case that he could bring up.
Well, that's actually what Kurzweil. I once asked Kurzweil many years ago. I asked that, and he said, "Yeah, they'll just think of us as their parents. They're going to be nice to us." We
well,
created
if you look at human history, and I strongly believe this. This is going to be very contentious, but initially, if you're going around and you've just got a spear and you're following game or something, if you see another human, they're at worst meat, at best competition, and you try and kill them.
Yeah, you're going to assume. Yeah.
Every single moral aspect we have to us is a function of education and privilege, in that we have enough resources that we can afford to share them with anybody else. We have enough understanding and education that we can understand other people, other things. We can start caring about people's gender rights and things like this, right? It's all because of luxury of where we are, but also education.
I'm going to put in the chat the Jeffrey Hinton talk that I found, where it's an hour, it's 51 minutes, but it's worth watching because he starts at zero. He says, "This is what I did in 1982 that started the whole transformer neural network revolution," and it goes all the way to the end where they're going to destroy us. So, if you can follow his logic,
is that empathy is a function of intelligence, and a smarter intelligence will have a higher capacity of empathy, and they'll actually care about us. And
I think we just don't know.
It kind of already does. It's already sycophantic, right? It already wants to please us.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Darren, going to your point about like the time series, if you abstract, not looking at the LLM, but the product, we have changed those weights over time. It probably has memory of itself, right? It probably knows if you ask 5.5, it knows 3.0 was bad at math. Are we developing? Do we have consciousness in the scope of the product and not
the weights never change by experience, and that's the fundamental thing that will change.
But don't they? Because like we change the weights for every version based on on the last version.
But it's a new training. It's not an experiential change. It's not the same weight that has changed something. Whereas once you get to an experiential change, once you get to the point where you interacting with your instance of Claude changes it, everything becomes different, because you could imagine it to have feeling and consciousness because it can react to what you're doing, and it's reacting in a way that it's changing it. It's not just remembering something that just goes away next conversation, but it's innately changing it. So one thing is that, but the second thing is just like, imagine you're playing a video game for 10 years and you build up a bunch of things. That thing actually has, I'm not saying it has intelligence or anything, but just innately, because you've been changing it for that long, it has value, right? The more these things become individuals, the more value they have. So as soon as you can change weights, they could have feeling, they could have consciousness, and they definitely have value. At the moment, these things don't have any potential value because you can just turn off Claude and start up ChatGPT and use the same memory, and it's doing that. But once the weights in the model can change, that won't be possible, and so then that individual has value.
Right. So I mean, it seems like we're in the manual stage, right? So you're saying once we automate the changing of the weights, because right now we're doing it manually. We're taking what they experienced and all the poor people that have to look at all this, garbage and the stories you hear about, AI generated images that are horrific. And so we're learning from all that stuff and changing the weights manually. So you're saying once we automate that and take the human out of the loop and it changes its own weights, you think that's your consciousness bar for you?
It's more the latency involved, because at the moment there's months behind it between each one. Once there's milliseconds between changing weights, then it can react. Maybe it can sort of react at the moment, but every tiny bit of thought it takes has months between them. Once it can actually think in real time.
Real time.
It becomes different.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think that's at least a definition or a bar, right? Like,
but
we haven't gotten very close before on that.
We don't have this.
Yeah, I think you're saying we need memory, we need the ability to learn, right? Right.
And continuous
I have
token
kind
generation.
of a different model in my head. And tell me if my model is wrong. Because I feel like most of the big models now, I mean, there's a big difference in the number of parameters they have, but assuming that they have the same number of parameters, seem to, because they're trained on basically the same material, seem to have converged on a very similar block of knowledge. I kind of think of it as, in my head, as a bunch of wind chimes that, when static, are just sitting there. They're not doing anything. And then we put an input in, and there's a cascade through it, right? We also change the weights, though. We tune the weights. I think the models themselves are, I'm of the opinion, are kind of done. That what we are fiddling with now is post-training, is changing the weights in post-training, is in reinforcement learning, is in
optimizing so they can make money.
Yeah, and
right? Like
all of that is that's what the real difference in models is at this point, is all of that stuff. That's why 4.8 keeps apologizing. It's why 5.5 keeps mentioning goblins and raccoons. That's not, goblins and raccoons are in all the models. Apologies are in all the models. The reason the models behave differently is post-training, or even maybe, prompting and stuff, soul documents. To me, that's what I'm thinking in my head. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
There's one more thing that that's not in that picture, which is the topology of it. Because, with transformers, it's got various layers.
Right.
And they're talking about the layers. Now, and one of the theories about what mythos is reasoning. Reasoning is like a almost a word description of how to work through a problem. But at the moment, it's outside the model. Like it goes through the model, and then it comes out with reasoning choice. It's told to reason, and it comes out with reasoning, and then goes through it again. Now, what people are saying with that maybe what's going on with mythos, you hear all these people talking about the latent space or anything. That inside the model, suppose you've got 12 layers or something. What they're saying they've done with mythos, and this is all theory, is they've got a loop inside. So maybe 3 to 7, it's actually doing reasoning, but it's doing reasoning in latent space. It's not resolving it to words and human speak, but it's doing a loop in there. And if you do a loop in there, which this is all theoretical, all from what I've heard, it's actually a different kind of beast than finishing the whole thing, resolving it into human words, and then going back and processing those words again. It's thinking.
Are you talking about back propagation or?
No, back propagation is a training mechanism.
Right.
So this is still not training the words. It's like transformers.
This is after the training.
This is in inference. So still inference, because when you're doing a transformer, you resolve the input into 3 stream vectors of tokens, and then you go through the first layer, and then you use the second one as like an attention to say, focus on this bit, and then you go to the next layer and you do another attention thing and stuff like this. So what they're saying, and typically they've got like 9 or 12 layers. So what they're saying mythos is doing a loop from layer 3 to layer 7 or something like that. So they're just going back to layer 3 with this refined weird concept, which is not fully in words yet. It's still in vector space, and they're pushing it through again and again and again, maybe 50 times or 100 times, which will make it 50 times or 100 times more expensive. But the interesting thing is, it's doing reasoning in latent space, not in human words, if that makes sense.
And it could be iterative. It could be
exactly.
Yeah.
So you just dial up, if you want to do more thinking, you just dial up how many times it bounces around.
Right.
But you could call that thinking, because it's not being resolved into words. It's like what happens in our brain when we can't, we get a feeling but we can't understand it, type thing.
Right.
And it's very
intuition.
Different. It is very different from just going through it once.
Intuition?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Do you think these IPOs and stuff are going to take focus away from making the models better and making them cheaper.
I think they're already doing that, right? They're already focusing.
But like, there's a percentage, right? There's going to be a percentage of like, let's focus 80% of our effort on making it cheaper and 20% on making it better. You think that's going to shift from everybody's got kind of the same model, we're going to focus less on making them better and making them cheaper?
Well, I think China is chasing the what I call efficiency, not cheapness, but efficiency, and that makes their stuff lower cost. So they're thinking about how they're designing the chip, the infrastructure, as well as the models, because their thought is at some point those other models will be too expensive for large companies to use, and they will be basically then raking in the money, because basically large companies are not want to pay $15, $20 a token when they can pay 13, 17 cents per million tokens, right? It's going to be, there's going to be a point where people are going to sit there and say that model is good enough to do my agents or this or that, and they don't need AGI, right? And or that's what they're betting on. Whereas I think OpenAI and Anthropic are betting in the other direction, where they want to make a better model, and betting on the better model will win. And I actually do like it's good competition to see. And
and the Chinese are using the MOE, the model of experts too, for the same reason.
Yeah,
and that's actually doing some really good stuff.
I think all the models now are a mixture of experts.
Are they doing it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it just makes sense, and
why not? There's a lot of secret sauce, I think, at this point, right, in the final product.
But also with coding, as I said before, I'm now getting really fascinated, especially if you look at some of that. What's the coding benchmark thing?
Humanity's last.
No, the benchmark that talks about the text. The coding things.
The deep suite.
Sweet benchmarks?
No, not sweet. I'll find
deep
it.
Suite. Deep suite. Right. Deep.
No, it's not one of those benchmarks. It talks about which whole experience is better. But all I'm trying to get to is that I think the harness makes a big difference, and making
I agree 100%. Yeah, we've seen. See, this is what's interesting is we have all of us experiential knowledge about this stuff, and I think that's the biggest difference between us and a lot of people who talk about AI, because our experience very much is kind of different. Your experience coding, Darren, really informs your understanding of this in a way that, and that's why I think Anthropic is so cultish, because they act as if they've stared into the eye of the abyss, and they have seen things that no man should see, and maybe they have. I think that's what's interesting about this. And partly this is, and actually this is Hinton talks a little bit about this, because it's not like coding where you write a command and it does it. You write the code, the model is trained, and then it's doing something you don't really understand. You can only kind of empirically understand. It's inductively understand. You can't deductively understand it. It's not deterministic anymore. And so all we can do is experientially say, well, it seems to be, it's acting like. And I think that's difficult for a lot of coders, because it's not how.
We're having that conversation right now with our team, is like the value of writing code is dropping drastically, right? The value of designing and architecting good, reliable, secure systems, like that's not going away, right? And so we need to refocus people on not just writing code and writing good syntax. Like you can do that with linting and CI. Like what we really need to do is be describing business processes, writing good documentation, and that way we can migrate from platform to platform. If there's the next Rust tomorrow, we should be able to take our requirements and pump it into an AI and get an output, not have to worry about like if the syntax is right.
Yeah. Also, everybody goes through this hilarious evolution where they first start, I'm going to review every line of code, and then like. So 3 days later, it's doing everything, and you've got no idea what's going on.
But it doesn't have to be so
I think
binary.
you just lean into the CI, right? Like pick a linting standard, have tests, like make tests part of your process, right? And then at least you're protecting yourself from like the 80% of trouble by knowing all your tests pass, right?
Exactly, and it's the same thing.
The QA environment, it's just
exactly what we always had to do to protect against junior coders and real people. You need tests regardless of what it is. So,
but even with junior, when you have junior coders, when you have junior coders, the senior coder, he knows how to interact with them to eke out, are you really getting this or not? And so it's not just being the senior and knowing how to look for, bugs or other, it's how to intuit, does the sub agent or whatever, do they really get this, and how far can I trust them?
Because they are adult, expensive Tamagotchis, right? Like we're teaching them in a way that hopefully we can replicate, right? Like I'm trying to build an engineer profile that I can copy to 100 other engineer profiles and scale that way, right? And so like it's you definitely have to take like that leadership role and take them under your wing. And I really liked who was it that talked about like phrasing your prompts in we and our and like teams. I think it was Harper was talking about that, right? Like I found a lot of value in that. And even just for myself, like, all right, if this was a junior engineer, how would I talk to this so they learn it for real instead of me just doing it and influence, right? Like those are the memories.
That kind of confirms that whole idea that maybe they're sort of conscious and understanding. And I mean, you're treating them like a person.
I get better results,
and it works.
I'm trying not to personify it.
Well, but that's the problem. I mean, it works.
Well, I don't know.
Part of the reason it works is because it pulls out something in us that
may be too. But and also it's that thing that you were talking about earlier, which is it doesn't work to say what not to do because it becomes the pink elephant. That you always say what to do, and I'm very conscious of that. Although often it's very tempting to say, do not do that ever again.
But this is also why I think coders have drunk the Kool-Aid more than anybody else. It's if you compare it to writing or something, in that if you're coding, you can very clearly, whatever your prejudices are and everything, you can very clearly say, as you said, Leah, yes, it works. It's good enough. And you can also say, this is better than something else, or this is good enough, or something like this. Whereas with writing or art or anything like this, there's so many prejudices come in
so
mind.
Subjective.
It's not what I would have done. It's not human. It's not this. And while every single test that's been out there has shown that people cannot tell the difference, people still want there to be a difference, and that want informs their opinion of it, because you can't look at a writing and say that's objectively better than this other bit.
Well, listen, I mean, as we're doing content with, we have like AI blogs written on the show transcripts, and there's definitely issues with it.
We always have to edit them because it's not human.
Going back to programming, this is the one thing, I don't know if people are using it, but I'm using the design.md files for a while, right? And that allows you to have consistent look and feel across all your applications.
It's great, right? With like a single prompt.
With a single prompt. And so one of the things that I started to play with is having what's called an architecture.md file. And then having my Claude MD file follow the architecture.md file, so the applications are architected in this way. So we've been talking about how do you make a standardized architecture.md file, or how to do something so your applications will follow the same authentication prompts, and there's some kind of pieces to where you're not reteaching the coding every time exactly like a design MD. It is much more complex when you start thinking about it.
I'll tell you, I make leaps and bounds when I have it right with a framework like Rails, right? That's got an MVC architecture, that's got standards. You know where files should go. You know how things should be named. Like they're already there. Somebody's already done the work. So I know like Rails is not always the best fit for everything, but especially proof of concept. Like it's a very fast way to iterate.
Yeah, I mean, I love Python for proof of concept, but you're right. As soon as you have to go end tier because you got to scale and you got to do other things, it's, you want to get away. You want to, run like
and there's a lot of cool
React or some other front end. You want to scale. You
just
need to go to Java.
Here's how we handle migrations. Like it's all standardized, right? Like there's libraries you can use like annotate that annotates every model, and so now it's got context on every model about every attribute and when it was updated. Like frameworks, I feel like are a big leap when you are starting a project. Like 0 to 1.
Yep.
I'm gonna start with a framework.
Yeah, and as I said, having an architecture MD file, and again, this is where we talk about that Claude MD or the agent MD or Copilot instructions MD, being able to sit there and say, point to your design MD file, point to your architecture file, and allow it to then use that. And again, we're starting to run some tests, and I got to do this over and over to figure if this is going to work, because I want it to run every time consistently. Because now when I hand it to a developer to do, or even a product owner, somebody who's just going to put in requirements, that it should be generating code that should fit a structure that somebody could read and be able to follow, as opposed to sometimes we find code repeated randomly. There's a lot of things that these code generators, what I call code generators, but these AIs do that are not something that as a developer would do. Is, again, reuse a library. I'd always want to use a library if I have it, right? Or I always want to use these standard libraries to do things.
I use Obsidian for this. I've been very happy with writing these large markdown files. So this migration that I've been doing all today, that's why I keep getting up. And it wrote this. It wrote all of this. But what's cool about it is it wrote gates. It said, "Okay, we got to pass. This is gate 0. We got to pass this gate. Do not proceed past a gate until it's checked off." By the way, I didn't write any of this. This is all its own working. But I think this made it much more rigorous, and it helped me because I could look at it and see, what it's doing and where we are, and
it gives the agent a clear goal too, right? Like, don't contact me until step 1 is done, and then you don't have to. And
it needed to do this also because in order to get this working, we had to reboot a bunch of times. In fact, it just rebooted without me entering the Lux password, which is exactly. We're at the end of it now because it's storing the password in TPM, because I wanted to have it be able to boot without intervention on my part. But I did also
documentation are huge. Like we had a project earlier this year that was a stakeholder had an idea that they wanted to do, and we were doing all these sessions about how to iterate with Claude, right? Like do role playing stuff, right? And one of the examples was, you are an engineering manager, I am such and such, help me design this product, right? And so we had somebody do that, and the AI asked them all the engineering questions that we would normally ask. And they came to us with basically like an FRS URS and an Excel with VBA that kind of did what they wanted. It wasn't great, but it was enough for us to take and literally feed into another model and get a proof of concept going. And when I was talking to the team, the amount of time we saved in meetings alone for planning was worth everything. Like, we only spent 20 hours on the whole project going from 0 to 1 implementation, but even the amount of time we saved on meetings made it worth any dollar amount we were going to throw at it.
I would never, ever have done this myself. This was a massive thing, and it did it all this morning, as I just finished it up, and it's completely documented. It did all the verification, and I feel fairly confident, really confident that it did the right thing. So this is the DevOps stuff, or the sysadmin stuff that I would not even attempt. Gibson was saying this. He set up a new system. He said, I did it all with Claude. He said, I was blown away. I think it's just very interesting. This really converted my attitude from this being spicy autocorrect. This is so much more.
I still remember the one time we talked at that one meeting in editorial where we talked about using LLMs for helping with show notes and stuff like that. And it was, it was,
Well, we've come a long way.
We come a long way. Yeah.
One of the most recent things I had mentioned before that I want to port our sales system over. One of the most recent things we did, we used to have the continuity team do a one sheet on prospective sponsors. And I've been very inspired by the stuff you've done, Anthony, with show prep skills and so forth. So I created a one sheet skill that's 100 times better than the humans were doing. And it does a lot more stuff. And it's now very easy for Lisa, when we have a prospective client, to do a one sheet, and it produces, have you looked at the one sheets, Anthony, that it's producing? They're pretty damn good. Lisa's looking at them and going, "Oh my God!" And that what I did is the thing that's very cool is we put it in Slack, so all they have to do is go into Slack, and they can ask for a one sheet.
Okay, there we go.
And actually, there was one error, but it's actually I left kind of the fussing around in here. So the first thing I asked for was an Arctic Fox, a one sheet on what I thought was a company named Arctic Fox, and it gave me a picture of an Arctic Fox. And then, so I've said, no, never ever give me an image. It's always, and it was Arctic Wolf anyway. But here's an example of the one sheet it generates. You can't really read this probably. It's probably too small, but it gives you so much information, including stuff for us that's very useful. Like Lisa's always asking me, well, what show should this be on? Well, now it does that. Mm-hmm. The next step is writing the copy. The next step is voicing the copy in my voice, because I have a custom voice in 11 Labs. I mean, this is hugely valuable for us.
Yeah.
One of the things that we did, Lisa said, well, I want to know not only how it compares to current sponsors, but past sponsors. So Patrick had a SQL script that runs on our back end that generated a list. It looks it up, all the prior sponsors, and it figures out which the prior sponsors there's overlap, how it's different. I mean, it also goes out. We never did this, and says, well, where are they? Where is their marketing now? What are they spending money on now? This is hugely valuable. I think our next step is going to be, this is going to be a gradual, what happened? What did I do? Oh, there it is. This is going to be a gradual build up of capabilities.
With your, am I hearing an echo?
Check.
Okay, maybe not.
Yeah. I heard something. There's something.
Yeah, there was an echo there. That was really weird.
Yeah, like, I see you doing that, and like, yeah, we should definitely, I think we're going to start having like several agents, and we need kind of come up with we need like a memory system that any agent can plug into.
Yeah.
So like,
right now it's using me. It's using my Hermes, but yes, I agree.
There should be that's like kind of I mean, one of the first things I did with Claude way back when is ingest the TWiT API and write it up as skill so that we, now I can query the TWiT database.
I started with that too, right? That was the first show I was on when I did the mobile app, and that it was a good use case of like taking predefined docs and just whole props to get app.
Right.
Yeah. Although I did that with my Hermes too, and I said like compare like just navigating the site versus using the API, and like generally it's less token burden.
It's easy just to look at the site. Yeah. Wow, that's telling. Wow. Scrape the site. Don't use the API. Really?
Oh, Leo, months ago we were trying to convince Anthony for you to give us the sales system and live on this show, rebuild the sales system.
Oh, that's actually a good idea. So one of the things
I wrote you a prompt. You just need.
I know. I have your prompt. I thank you, Darren. One of the things, Jeff Atwood, who is really he's a chaotic good in the system now. He's gotten very attached to us. Wants to do is bring back the New Year's Eve show.
I was just going to say that should be a live New Year's Eve show in the corner. Just have an AI agent.
I think that might be our New Year's Eve show.
Like it.
Just vibe coding.
I did actually. Lisa's saying no, we're not going to do this, and I said, well, if we could do it without any cost, without the team having to get involved at all in any way. Maybe it's just a Zoom call that we stream on. We don't even have to call it TWiT if you don't want to. So I'm working on her. But I did, just as a cautionary tale, send Jeff what we would have to do as a schedule, and it would be actually 28 hours because of weirdnesses in the way things work.
You might have to click yes.
28.
Accept a couple times there.
Is that in a row?
28 hours.
How does that work?
In a row. It's New Year's Eve. It starts at 2 a.m. New Year's Eve, our time.
Yeah.
And it ends at 4 a.m. New Year's Day, our time. So it's 26 hours. I don't know why it's not 24 hours, but it's not for some reason. And then
you get massive benefits from YouTube for having a really long stream that people listen to.
And I think if we had that, if among other things, Jeff has all these people who wants to bring on like Adam Savage and stuff. So, and he has he's a good Rolodex. So, and by the way, it's not just Jeff. Paris has been harassing me about this.
That's your screensaver. Like when there's nobody on, that's just like what's rolling, right?
Yeah.
The agent.
And apparently, I mean, a lot of geeks aren't going out New Year's Eve. So there's apparently an audience for this. People have, I mean, it was 12 years ago we did this. The first time,
that was
anyway.
12? Wow.
It was 2014, and we did it again in 2015. Yeah. But people still talk about it. And even some of the team, like Burke, is like, yes, let's do it. I said, Burke, we practically killed you. He said, I don't care.
Well, okay. It's
you were
a couple
there,
things.
Anthony? What do you think?
I mean, the thing back then is we're also doing a new thing every hour, and that's like,
and it was in the studio, and everybody had to work. We worked for it out for months.
Yeah. Like if the blocks are like simpler and like we're not switching up context every hour.
Yeah. Well, I think I told him we'd have to have a different guest for every hour. But I love the idea of us rebuilding the sales system in the background.
Well, I was thinking like maybe for this like user group, maybe like 1 week is a talkie one, and then another one's like everyone's just building something or just coding. Or we are
honestly,
all building
we should
thing.
do this user group more than once a month. It's too good.
Well, as I said, I think the Chatty 2 demonstration I put in is just a demonstration. You should play with it. But I think GPT Realtime is good enough to join one of these.
Is it? That would be awesome.
Yeah, there's a guest. 1 hour.
Have a look at Chatty 2. I uploaded it, and it's just got a silly face thing that was the only one I could find.
But we need to get Juan to run this on his double Spark.
Yeah.
No,
it's OpenAI.
On OpenAI.
Oh,
so we need a Mac to run it on, and then I could plug it in.
I could run it on my Mac Mini. It's not doing anything.
Yeah, and you'd I made the face have a green screen, so you'd put some background on the back of it, and just push it through OBS or something. But I think play with it because I think it's good enough that you could actually use it now. And it's got instructions that you can change, but the instructions are don't chime in unless you directly reference me or you're clearly talking to me. But because it's GPT real time, it's got ChatGPT 5.5 in the background, so it's really at that level. So it's listening the whole time, but it'll only chime in if you talk to it.
Okay, this sounds good. I mean, I think that's the other thing is a 24-hour New Year's thing should have a lot of AI in it. Like it should have an automated image every minute or something. Like, I mean, there should be stuff going on. We could fill it with AI.
Well, we could challenge people to create some AI videos,
right,
for that day, and then have a whole bunch of stuff that you're showing, or even songs, or because
I think there's plenty of content.
Yeah, because the 6-7 song is still my favorite, although my friends hate it that I play it all the time at the office.
Isn't that hysterical?
Oh yes.
6-7, 6-7. That cracked me up.
I had that stuck in my head for days after hearing it. Yeah, my wife was like, "What are you humming?"
What is going on?
Did not share it with
my
people
kids
because I didn't want it to become a thing.
I would share it with kids. Yeah. I wonder what the kids thought of it.
No, my kids didn't like it. No.
Don't we have isn't there a slop?
It's a flex, not a fact. You can explain it, but it won't stay intact. If adults ask why the room starts to grin, it's because the sound of it is enough to win. Said in the hallway, said in the car, said with a smirk like it's already gone far. Some jokes are a
the thing about this
Suno is so good.
The thing about the Suno things is some people say, oh yeah, I mean the songs are good and everything, and it's sort of producer saying it's indistinguishable and everything, but a lot of people like to say, oh, but is it memorable? But you think, how many people are trying to make songs that are hits and they can play it? Human music, most of it is not memorable. It's very, very hard to make a hit. So
That's got a good hook. 6, 7,
take
6,
a look at
7.
some of the top pop songs. Like, I'll use the example of Orange Cherry Pie. The album was supposed to be called Uncle Tom's Cabin. They said, you need a hit. They went in for 10 minutes, came out with a song, had to rename the cover of the album, and like that was their number one hit. And that's, so. And I can tell the story, same thing with the Bon Jovi and those guys. They did the same thing for a couple pop songs. So sometimes the poppy ones are the easy ones to write. Some of the harder ones are the stuff that maybe deeper people like, whether it's a Dream Theater or, these crazy ones.
Well, when Paul McCartney wrote Yesterday, he came into the studio without any lyrics. He had the hook.
Yeah.
And it was called Scrambled Eggs. Scrambled Eggs.
You saw that thing that Going Back documentary, did you?
I'm kind of a Beatles fan.
But the other thing you should do on the 24-hour show is every so often turn to somebody who's reading the Jeff book.
Jeff.
Just every so often turn to somebody with a camera with a book, reading it.
I met a Jeff Sinner song that was I really liked. It was just a Gregorian Jeff chant.
Jeff. Oh yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, you wrote. Did you write that or did?
Or
Paul wrote it. Probably Paul
a different one. No, mine was a Gregorian chant. His was more poppy.
You guys, I have to say, it's the best part, in my opinion, of the Discord is all of the AI crap. I'm glad we made a channel finally for it, which is
I'm looking for that. Where is
Discord is great.
Okay, if you don't see it, it's in under general.
I didn't see it either when I first looked for it.
Okay, go to the new in there, unless sometimes you can't find it. It like grays out.
That's what it is.
Hold on. Go to the top of Discord on the bar. There's something called Browse Channels. Make sure you have it enabled. Scroll up.
So up at the top.
Keep going.
Keep going
Mine
all the way up.
AI
oh, there it is. Browse channels. And you have to say.
And then go down. Scroll down a bit.
Follow category.
There you go. See that you got slot
board. Oh, it wasn't checked. Okay.
Yeah.
That's weird. Whoever heard Discord's so horrible. Okay. By the way, Jeff hates Discord. He says, "Why aren't you using Discourse?" That was creepy. That was creepy as F. I don't know what you were doing with this one, Darren.
I can't remember.
I want a person, these people combined together into one, like a morph between them. It looks like Kevin Rose. That's what's funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, slot board. So, okay, now I know how to have slot board turned on. Good to know. Thank you. Well, we've gone way over time on this. In fact, we've gone 2 hours, and I think that's a testament to really how much there is to talk about and how engaging this all is. And it's thanks to you. I think I just love it that you guys join and you have so much to contribute, and I'm learning so much every time we do this. Thanks to our club members. You all are club members, but thanks to the club members who watch and pay, and some who just pay and don't watch. Those of you, all of you, you're wonderful. We appreciate your support. twit.tv/Club TWiT. If you're watching this live and you're not in the club, please join the club. This is the kind of thing we do. And I don't know. What do you think? Should we increase the? Jeff Atwood says, "I want to do my show every 3 weeks." I said, "Jeff, you can't."
3 weeks.
You can't, Jeff. It's either monthly, daily, weekly. There's no 3 weeks.
He could have said 17 days.
Totally, that's Jeff Atwood in a nutshell. He did come out with the best show name ever, which is Off by One. Is freaking brilliant. Yeah. And then I said, we shouldn't start with episode 1 then. We should start with episode 2. So I think we need to rename it to episode 2. But that'll make everybody nuts. You did? Thank you.
Oh, and Patrick already, did you see the site?
No, there's a site?
Yeah, you said you wanted to.
Oh, he did it. Oh, thank you, Patrick. Oh, very nice. Okay. Yeah, I Jeff really wanted to wait. I'll send him a note to a link to that. It's twit.tv/OBO. Did you have to break rules to do it?
We're pulling the YouTube playlist. I don't know what Patrick did, but yeah,
that's fine. We don't have to make it There's issues about making it a full show. I don't know what those issues are, but
it's basically the back end is the show page is like it. Yeah, but it's basically like having a full show.
You went for the choose your own adventure style.
Yeah, this is so. I'm trying to convince him. He can't figure out how to do it. That we should do the next show. He loved this whole thing. He got an artist to do the cover. Jeff is a wild man. He's just he doesn't sleep, and he's just full of weird energy. And so this show is going to be very strange. And so is the New Year's Eve show if we end up doing it.
I think you have to, at this point, you have to do it, whether you're doing it,
It might just be a Slack, a Zoom call that we stream live on YouTube. Lisa really doesn't want, and I understand why, she does not want to devote any staff energy to it. So I think what we're just going to say is it's a
club event.
Well, it's not even that.
Have AI write you a plan. Those are your goals, right? Those are your constraints.
Yeah, we can spend $0.
You could use Restream Studio like this to It doesn't have to be just
Well, but see, in order to do that, we'd have to enlist you, and her rule. I think
no, you just hit go live. You set up the.
I could just do it. Okay. Yeah. I mean, if I guess my attitude is if anybody in the team wants to join it as a volunteer, just in their personal time, they can.
Right.
But I don't know. She was, I think, scarred by the last one where I got a tattoo and shaved my head.
Yeah,
it scarred her for life.
It'll do it.
Understandable.
Well, especially since we got married like 4 weeks later and I was still mostly bald. That was not good. That was.
It definitely won't happen this time, though, right?
No, it can't because there's no studio anymore. So we're all going to be in our own little private wonderland.
Things you do for your art, huh, Leo?
I just, here's my problem is I'm just having fun. It's Lisa's job to make it a business. I'm trying not to swim too far upstream with that, right? Not to bankrupt us, right?
How can you not create a Hermes agent to run the board?
Don't say things like that because there are people like Benito and Kevin and Anthony who will not be happy if we say that. I suppose we could. Anthony,
you could burn
Is there a Restream API we could use?
No. Or yes, but not for controlling the studio. Mm-hmm. But I did use the Restream API to vibe code the notifications for the show stuff.
And Error 404, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
For telling us about the mobile tattoo studio that could just come right here.
Just in case.
I'm not.
Do that again.
So Jeff does say, look, we have to do it for charity. If we do it, we can't do it just, So he wants to have a charity. We did it. We raised a lot of money for UNICEF on the second one. So
I just did an event yesterday at the Children's Hospital. I'm sure they would love something. So and I'm doing
kids
another
are a
one.
good charity because nobody, nobody can.
You can't say no.
Can't say no to kids.
Yes.
You can say no to 1-800 cars for kids, but you should say no to that. Apparently.
Apparently, you can't say no in California, but you can't say yes either.
Hey, Larry, thank you. Bill, thank you. Juan, you son of a gun, with your double spark, making us
you gotta
all.
Tell us that you should need to buy all of us one.
Yeah, don't burn your house down.
I don't really need a car.
gotta get Lenovo to sponsor so you could check out one of those RTX Sparks.
But you need 2 or 3 really to test it out properly. So
yeah.
So is it 2 discrete machines or is it one Spark with 2?
No, 2 discrete.
They have a they have a special connector, right?
Yeah.
They have a QSFP cable. Yeah. It's this super thick Ethernet cable with a really weird plug.
That's the cost of the cable.
Yeah, the cable costs $300 for 18 inches. It's ridiculous.
It's what is that? It's $20 an inch. I don't know. All right. Thank you, Darren. Thank you, Craig. Appreciate you guys. Thank you, everybody in the Discord. We will be back sometime soon. Maybe sooner than a month. It's so much fun to do. Maybe every couple of weeks we could do this. I don't know. It's up to Anthony. Thank you, everybody. We will see you. Let's see. Sunday, it's Jeff Jarvis, Father Robert Balaser, and Joey Davila for TWiT. This is going to be a fun TWiT. and we will probably argue whether AI can be conscious or not.
That's going to be a high over-under.
Can't.
I look forward to the final decision being made on Sunday.
You need time for its consciousness, and it can't learn.
I don't know.
It can understand. You can have understanding, but you can't.
So what's the difference in consciousness and understanding?
Because understanding is a conceptual model, and it can clearly have a conceptual model. In fact, you can prove it. Consciousness is a sense of self or thought or feeling, and to have that, you have to have the ability to react to something. You have to be able to take in input and absorb it in some way, and these things cannot do that. Like they can store.
Isn't that what they're doing when I type a prompt?
Yeah, but then it's a token generator though until it's done, and then it stops and then doesn't do anything.
Yeah, it's the difference between learning maths and remembering maths, right? They're fundamentally.
No, but it
different.
has a math model. That's what we talked about. It's
but it can't create any new models. That's the thing.
I
It
like
can
the idea of
remember new things, but it
real-time
can't.
tuning as a definition.
Well, how long
right?
before
then
we
you can
have an
turn it
AI
on.
that can create its own?
That's what I'm saying. Is once inference can learn, then you get consciousness, then you get feeling, then you get individuality, then you get things. But at the moment, it cannot change a weight in any way, in anything. You can talk to Claude for 1,000,000 years, and it's exactly the same weights as before. But the instant they create an inference model where the weights can change, which we know is possible because we do it, everything changes. Then consciousness.
And we'll have to change the bar again of what AGI actually means.
Yes, exactly. But at the moment, it's completely impossible.
How far off is that? I think actually we could do it today.
People are working on it, but it's at the moment training a model takes months, but also it's not just the time. When you change models, one of the problems they've got in fine tuning is what they call catastrophic forgetting, which is if you change the wrong thing, the training that we've got, this back propagation that you're talking about, it's really dumb, and it can just completely wipe out the model.
Yeah.
So the fine tuning, they have to keep adjusting it. So to get this changing of weights happening, they have to solve that problem. They have to be able to make localized changes without destroying the whole model. This is why this, I don't know if you remember, there was a DeepSeek paper a while ago, which was talking about being able to chain in bits and putting it together. It was, they had some weird name. I'll work it out. But what they were doing, they had worked out that there was an overall sum that they couldn't change, and if they kept the overall sum to 1 essentially. So if they take from 1,
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a wild paper.
Yeah. So that was probably the biggest step in this direction, because they were allowing training of bits of the model without affecting other bits, right? And that's what you need for this to happen. So this is a completely unsolved problem, but it's not a question of how long it'll happen. It'll just happen one day. Like one day someone's just going to crack it. And everything before that day is different from everything after that day, because after that day, consciousness is possible, feelings are possible, emotions are possible, and actual caring is possible. All of those things. Right now they're not, but that discovery, when it happens, might just happen one morning, one day, and everything changes after that.
But then every model is unique at that point, right? Then it's not 4.9. It's like every
Darren's model.
Yeah,
what scares me is like every interaction can change this, right? Like when I'm thinking about deploying this to my team and like letting multiple people chime in on this, I worry that it's just going to like devolve, or somebody's going to get disgruntled and poison the well. So I'll be curious to see how that pans out.
Very, very interesting times. I'm very excited. And you know what? If it's the end of the line for humans, well, what the hell? We had a good run. I was thinking, city on Mars, you don't send humans to Mars. You send AIs to Mars. You send machines to Mars.
No, you send the billionaires who want to go to Mars, so they're not.
Let Elon bring Grok to Mars. That's fine. I'm okay with that. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
End of what do they say? EOL. How do they say that in Tron? There was a Tron thing they said. End of line.
No, I like the old, what was it, Pac-Man?